Chapter 15, Diaz, Central High. By the time we stepped off the bus at Central High, my name had already taken on a life of its own. The season had barely begun, yet I sat at number 1 in the city rankings. Not because I had battled through some long, dramatic proving ground. Not because I had needed months for the city to figure out what I was. The coaches, the writers, the people who put those lists together had looked at the first stretch of the season and already decided the outcome was settled. They treated my matches like paperwork, waiting to be signed. Like the only real mystery left was how long it would take before the referee slapped the mat. That kind of certainty changes the air around you. It changes every gym before you even enter it. Every weigh-in felt heavier. Every handshake carried more meaning. Every warm-up drew eyes that lingered too long. People no longer asked if I was good. That question had already died. Now they asked how fast the pen would come, how long a heavyweight could last with me, how many points I would put on the board before I got bored with him, how ugly it was going to look. That is a strange place to stand as a high school kid. You are still young, still figuring yourself out, but the room starts receiving you like something already decided. Like you are no longer a teenager, but a result. Then the noise got louder. The number 3 heavyweight in the city came from Central, and he was doing interviews, like a man running for mayor. He was talking in the papers, like the season already belonged to him. Talking like he had the headline picked out and framed on his bedroom wall. Talking like his biggest problem was deciding how humble he wanted to sound after he took me down. And he talked directly about me, about the kid they were starting to call Kingpin. He made 2 promises loud enough for the whole city to hear. First, that I would never pin him. Second, that he was going to beat me. I remember reading those words and feeling something settle into my chest. Not anger, not wounded pride, not nerves, something colder than that, cleaner than that, focus. Because when somebody puts his mouth on your name in public like that, you do not treat him like another name on the schedule. You do not give him a respectable loss and let him walk away still believing his own article. You do not let him use your name to raise his own stock. You make a point. You make the kind of point that leaves no room for interpretation. I stared at the photo they ran with the article. Diaz stood tall, thick, heavy, carrying himself like the weight had always belonged on his frame. To anybody who did not understand wrestling, his size looked like destiny. To the average person skimming the paper, his confidence probably sounded reasonable. Finally, somebody was going to stop this Overbrook kid before the whole season got out of hand. But wrestling has never been decided by headlines, and it has never been decided by height charts. Right then, I made my decision. I was not just going to beat Diaz. I was going to destroy him in front of everybody who had heard him talk. I wanted the next loudmouth to think twice before using my name to build his own. And one question kept turning in my mind. If he was that confident, if he was that big, if he was talking like the whole thing was already over, why was he ranked only 3rd? Why not 2nd? Why not 1st? Rankings whisper more than they shout. That number 3 felt like a clue I could not yet read. Later I would learn the answer. That is a story for another day. The build-up reached the gym before our bus did. It lived in the low conversations between coaches and the sideways glances from other heavyweights at weigh-ins. It lived in the way people paused when they saw the bracket, in the way students leaned over bleachers and asked each other if this was the match, in the way names started traveling farther than bodies. By the time we pulled up to Central, anticipation sat so thick in the air you could almost taste it. Central looked different from Overbrook before we even got all the way inside. The building felt older, heavier, more established, like it had been standing forever and knew exactly how important it was. The hallways had that polished look institutions get when they have been winning for a long time and everybody expects the winning to continue. The air carried old wood, fresh floor wax, and something deeper than either one, history. Too many championship moments had happened in that building for the walls to ever forget them. Banners hung high and neat. Championships, districts, city titles. Names and years stacked one after another like proof that they owned something we were still trying to build. Overbrook was hungry. Central was established. That difference matters. Even as a public school, Central drew rich families who wanted the reputation, the facilities, the programs that won without question. Football, wrestling, track, smart kids, athletic kids. The whole package. They carried themselves like success was their birthright. I hated everything about them. The way they walked like the city belonged to them. The way their wins felt automatic. The way their losses were so rare they seemed personally offended whenever one happened. Overbrook and Central were rivals in the blood. The hatred ran deep, and I carried mine like fuel every time we faced them. The gym was already filling when we arrived. Central students moved with that easy confidence that comes from expecting to win. They talked and laughed and pointed at our singlets like we were visitors in their house. Eyes followed us all the way to the locker room. Somebody called my name loud enough for it to carry across the floor. Not disrespectful, just bold. Like they wanted me to know they knew who the villain was supposed to be. I did not look over. I kept walking. Inside the locker room, the energy pulled tight. Guys checked their shoes, their headgear, their straps, like checking them twice could somehow control what was coming. Coach kept his words short and sharp. No long speech, no dramatic theater. He did not need that. He knew what kind of night it was, and I knew too. He crouched close enough that only I could hear. "Wrestle your match," he said. "Do not chase. Do not reach. Get your hands on him and move him. Make him work. Break him with pressure. You hear me, Kurt?" I nodded. Outside the locker room, the warm-up area buzzed with bodies. Sweat in the air. Shoes squeaking. Light jogs. Jumping jacks. Shadow shots. Coaches crouched low like hunters. Parents leaned over railings watching every movement like warm-ups themselves. Contained clues. The mat glowed bright under the lights. Then I saw him, Diaz. He was not pacing. He was not slapping himself in the face. He was not doing fake tough guy theater for the crowd. He stretched slow and methodical, like he had been in 100 gyms exactly like this, and none of them had ever changed his heartbeat. Thick, but not sloppy. Solid. Built from years of real grappling. Shoulders heavy, but relaxed. Back shaped by work. Big, calloused hands that looked like they had controlled ties for a long time. That mattered to me. I never respected fake fighters. Diaz looked like he had done enough real wrestling to deserve seriousness. I warmed up, but I watched him from the corner of my eye. He watched me straight on. No fear, no curiosity, just assessment. That alone made him different from most of the other heavyweights. The lower weights rolled through first. Cheers rose and fell. Groans followed close calls. Coaches barked instructions. Team points moved back and forth. Every match mattered, but the whole gym was waiting for heavyweight. When they finally called my name, the noise pulled back just enough for the moment to breathe. Then they called his, Diaz. The Central side erupted, not simple cheering, pride. Their voices rolled in waves. Diaz, Diaz, Diaz. The loudest section came from their championship football team. Those guys sat together like they owned the bleachers. Big, loud, used to winning everything. Their football program was one of the best in the city, and they carried that same energy into every sport. I hated them for it. Hated the way they looked down on Overbrook. Hated that Central got to walk around like excellence was automatic while we had to fight for everything. Tonight their chance felt personal. I did not move. I stared straight through Diaz like I wanted him to feel that this already belonged to me. My coach crouched one last time. "Kill him." I stood slow, peeled off the sweatpants, pulled the hoodie over my head, took the headgear from Coach, strapped it tight, looked across the mat at Diaz one more time. Then I said it, calm as breathing. "No problem." Not loud, not for the crowd, for him. We met in the center. The ref checked hands, nails, headgear. We shook. His grip was solid, anchored, respectful, serious. The whistle blew, and from first contact I knew it would be quick. Not a guess. A feeling. The moment our bodies touched, I felt the weight he was carrying. Not just muscle, not just size. Expectation. All the talk. All the promises. All the noise behind him. It sat on his shoulders and tightened him up. He was thinking. Heavyweights cannot afford to think in that first second. I did not circle long. I shot. Lightning. Single leg so fast he panicked before the crowd even reacted. Level change clean. Shoulder through, hands locked. Running the pipe. He turned the wrong way. Instinct. Fear. One bad decision. I climbed him immediately, chest to chest. Heavy. Tight. Mounted. Clean. His base collapsed. Breath jumped. The whole gym inhaled at once. I had him on his back almost instantly. His shoulders were on the mat. I could have held him there and let the referee drop down and count it. Ended it in seconds. Let Central live with that humiliation forever. But I did not. I let him off his back before the referee could get into position to call the pin. I wanted him to feel how easy it was for me to put him there. I wanted him to know he had been pinned and released, not saved. Then I pushed off, stood up, and smiled. Not friendly, a smile that said you thought you were talking to somebody else. I laughed, right there on the mat. Not because it was funny, because it was already over. We tied up again. He tried to settle into position, tried to regain himself, tried to wrestle the match he had promised the newspaper he would wrestle. He got his hands inside and tried to establish control, but I could feel it. His hips were wrong, his timing was wrong. His pride was making him stay in places he should have abandoned. I stepped in, hip toss. I turned my hips, lifted him off his feet, and threw him with my body still attached to his. His legs flew, and he landed flat on his back, with my weight crashing down on top of him. The air shot out of him. The whole gym felt it. Then the place went quiet. Not polite quiet. Stunned quiet. The kind of silence that comes when a crowd realizes a match has turned into a public correction. He was lost after that. What he feared most was not losing. It was looking stupid in front of his own people. And I made it worse. I kept putting him on his back. Every time I turned him, his shoulders touched the mat. Every time the referee started dropping down to check the pin, I let Diaz back up before it could be made official. I was pinning him and releasing him. Over and over, points stacking, dignity draining out of him in public. The score kept climbing, but the match kept going because I would not let it end. I wanted him to feel every second of it. I wanted the gym to understand that the match was continuing, not because he was surviving, but because I was choosing to let it continue. By the end of the first period, it was 12-5. Those 5 points came from what I allowed him to have. That was the embarrassing part. The score itself looked competitive if you did not understand what you were watching. The match was not. At the break, he stood there breathing hard, shoulders sagging, spirit leaking out of him. I won the toss and chose bottom. Not for strategy, for statement. Whistle blew, sit out, switch, gone before he could clamp down. I got top position so fast the crowd reacted late, like their eyes needed an extra second to understand what had just happened. By then, Diaz was exhausted, not just physically, mentally. The decision to break had already started inside him. I turned him again, put his shoulders on the mat again, let him up again. The pattern was the same. Pin and release, pin and release. The referee kept moving toward position, and I kept letting Diaz off his back before the count could start. The gym was getting angrier with every cycle. Central's side could see what was happening. Their wrestler was being pinned over and over, and the match was still going because the kid from Overbrook would not let it end. Then I decided it was time. I got chest to chest with Diaz and locked my grip. This time I did not ease off. I squeezed him with everything I had, tightening down like I was trying to press him through the mat. His shoulders were flat. His body had nothing left. He felt the grip change. He felt the difference between all the times I had let him go and this time when I was not letting go. And he screamed, loud, sharp enough to cut through the whole gym. a sound that came from somewhere deeper than pain. It came from the place where a man realizes he is being finished in front of everyone who believed in him. That scream pulled a spectator out of the stands and onto the mat. He grabbed me from behind, trying to yank me off Diaz like I was the problem that needed solving. Before I could even turn fully, I heard a crack. I looked over. Susette, my girlfriend, the love of my life. She had run straight onto the mat to stop the spectator and punched him square in the face. No hesitation, full force. The sound of it snapped through the building. He staggered back, hands flying to his nose. That was the spark. Chaos exploded. Benches emptied. Students poured out of the stands. Bodies collided everywhere, yelling, swinging, grabbing jerseys, grabbing arms, people reacting to the reaction. Central kids, Overbrook kids, everybody boiling at once. I popped up fast. First thought, Susette. I stepped right into the middle of it and put her behind me. Shoulders squared, hands ready. Eyes scanning every direction. If anybody was getting to her, he was going through me first. She was still hot, still trying to get around me, still reaching, still ready to fight. I planted myself and held position. The match was over. The fight was on. Then the principal's voice cut through the noise. Sharp, final, absolute. And the whole place froze. Not fear, respect. That man stepped forward with a bullhorn like he owned the air itself and reprimanded the student body straight to their faces. Nobody laughed. Nobody talked back. Nobody tried to be brave. The mat cleared. Officials gathered in the center with both coaches. My coach wanted a forfeit. Central's side had crossed the line and everybody knew it. But Central was winning the team score and needed every point for their championship path. They were not giving the meat away because one of their people lost their mind in public. So they agreed to continue. The principal stayed close, bullhorn in hand, watching everything. I kissed Susette. She was still mad, still charged up, but she gave me half a smile. I leaned in and told her low, now I'm going to punish him for real. We restarted neutral. Diaz came out with a little energy back. Pride, survival. Maybe the illusion that the break had reset something. It had not. I faked a shot. He bit hard, dropped late. I circled behind, locked my hands around his waist, lifted him clean off the floor, and slammed him hard. I slid right into a half Nelson and turned him onto his back. Then I let him up again, on purpose. Let him feel it, let the whole gym see it. Then I shot one last time, harder, cleaner. Drove through him so completely he went backward onto his back, like somebody had pulled the floor out from under him. I settled tight, chest heavy, hips low, no space left in the world. This time I held him there, his shoulders pressed flat. The referee dropped down, checked the position, and slapped the mat. Done. I leaned close and whispered so only he could hear. You my bitch now. Then I popped up and threw 2 middle fingers to the stands, taunted them. Dared anybody to try that again. Coaches and teammates grabbed me fast, talking over each other, dragging me off the mat before the whole place exploded a second time. The work was done. As we walked off, Coach grabbed my shoulder. That was kind of excessive, you think? Sarcastic. Then he leaned closer. I think you made your point. Good job. He laughed. Teammates slapped my back, yelled, acted like I had just saved the whole city. Some of them looked proud in a way that made me protective, like my win had given them something they could carry too. Central's championship football team had been the loudest section in the building all night, the rowdiest, the most certain, the same guys who won everything and acted like the city should thank them for it. Watching them go quiet, really quiet, felt like payback for every time they had looked down on Overbrook like we were beneath them. I walked out of that gym knowing one thing clearly. Diaz had asked for this in public. I gave it to him in front of the city. And after Central, my name did not feel like hype anymore. It felt official.